What's up, YouTube? Welcome to today's video. Today I'm talking about brushwork and unblocking the flow, and I'll talk a little bit about like Zen brushwork, the history, kind of the attitude that's encompassed in it, and do a demo with these slipware pieces that I'm working on. So these are just forms that were thrown and then trimmed and then dipped in porcelain slip. And as it stands right now, the slip is just a little bit tacky. So I'm gonna put another layer over the top. And when you're doing slip decorating, it's good to keep an awareness of the moisture, because when it's too wet, it'll smear together, and when it's damp, it will kind of stick together. But you can also do stuff if you let a piece dry out all the way and then cover it in a thick layer of slip and then biscuit, it will crack and get like an interesting texture. But anyway, I just want to show you this plate. This is a platter from the Hugo Mento Gallery in San Francisco with some brushwork. This is overglaze enamel, and this is a platter from Mashiko. It's a very famous pottery village in Japan. It's where Hamada worked out of. But yeah, it's a good piece. I'll link his gallery. The gallery is called Hugo Mento, and a man named Hugo runs it. So I will link the gallery, and I'm gonna switch the camera angle to brushwork. But enjoy the video, and thanks for being here. Okay, here we go. So I've got these pieces here, and I have this black, it's like dark-ish slip. It's chocolate. It's a clay called chocolate. And I'm gonna paint a couple of things on here. So I wanted to talk in this video a little bit about brushwork. And all ceramics in Japan is historically very tied to ideas from Zen. And brushwork is the same. And part of that is what I like to think about as what I call like unblocking the flow. And what do I mean by that? When you get like the feeling of brushwork right, or what to me feels right, it's like you free yourself of any sort of judgment or intention and just let the strokes come out. And it's as if, like in meditation, people talk about the observer, where you're sitting with your thoughts and allowing them to come into your mind and then go out without any judgment of them, and just sit and allow the observer to observe without grasping to them. And brushwork is largely the same, and a lot of forms in Japanese ceramics are very simple, and they're done very quickly, and they just kind of flow out. And oftentimes they're rooted in nature. People paint grass or trees or fruit. And I found trying to get into brushwork and trying to kind of tap into these kind of things, the work in doing it is internal. And it's about like capturing a certain feeling in yourself, and then finding that place where your mind is still, and then just letting it flow out. And there's kind of technical considerations in brushwork in that, especially if you're using glaze, but also slip, it doesn't quite flow right if you are too cautious, or if you're trying to like peck at it. And like a lot of people when they're working, they have this very like kind of peck at it, look at it, judge it, peck, judge, and spend a lot of time on it, which is not a bad thing. You can do really good work slowly and by building it up layer by layer. When it becomes a problem is when you start hating what you're working on. And a lot of times people get this, like, these ideas of, well, I've just experienced a lot of people that I know where they're in the studio and they're criticizing their work so much while they're working on it. And, you know, they don't like it, I don't like it, I don't like it, it's wrong, it's this, it's that. And judgment does have a place and analysis, but when you're in the process of making, it needs to be set aside. And I like to think of it, I remember when I was very young playing basketball, and people would say, you can't steer your shot, or you can't steer the free throws. And you get that effect in any kind of pursuit of, if you think about it too much and you try too hard and you try to steer it and you try to control it, it's not going to come out right. It actually impacts the level of competence that you have a great deal. And so to kind of tap into this place where you're able to let go of some amount of control and just let it flow is a lot about, that's a lot about, you know, making in general, but ceramics, art, brushwork, all of it. So how do you go about unblocking the flow? And part of it is, like I said, it's internal work. It's meditating. It's getting to a place of Zen inside yourself. But there's technical things or like practical things that you can do. One of them is working very fast. And when you watch people doing brushwork or calligraphy, it's very quick because the more into the flow you get, the strokes don't get separate from each other. People flow from one stroke to the next very fluidly and very quickly. And when you can be very still in your mind, you can observe what's happening in front of you, but just let the body keep putting it out without making something, seeing it, adjusting, thinking about it, and then doing another stroke. You can just let it come out. And one thing that helps a lot is to do repetition, repetitive shapes. And Hamado is very famous for doing the same broken straw pattern thousands of times throughout his career. And he talked a lot about making the same thing enough that it had become part of him. And it becomes almost kind of like a mantra, but without words, just in a physical shape. And so a couple things that have been important for me, one is the branching shape that's very pervasive across all life, especially trees, but neurons, veins, all of it. Even in clay itself, there's a branching structure that you can observe in like an imprint of clay. And it becomes a way to kind of meditate on that and kind of observe it coming out without words, just in a shape. Another shape that's been very important to me is this dampened vibration shape. And that means a lot of things to me, but all of the systems of your body and of the world operate on vibration. And in pottery, dampening is very important, where you take this uncentered shape and dampen it into center. And then in my life, I've had the tendency to take things all the way to the extreme right away and then dampen it over time. And so to do that, to have this like kind of thing that's condensed in my head, these ideas, it's like it lets my mind kind of meditate on them and think about them through a physical medium. And just observe what comes out. You know, and of course, these things like judgment and stuff have a place. And something to keep in mind is that there's a time and a place. And so I think it's very worthwhile to kind of tap into the flow, let something come out, and then look at it after and be like, I don't like this, I do like this. Find where the flaws are, find where you can improve, and iterate in that way, in a very non-violent and gentle way. And yeah, so But anyway, about unblocking the flow, I think there's lots of good ways to do it. And like one way, like I said, is going fast. And if you try and go as fast as possible, it very quickly becomes apparent what is too fast. And there's a big difference between the feeling of flow, where things come out fast because there's no blockages. And then there's another feeling which is too fast, where it's forced. And to kind of explore that and see, okay, what is too fast and what is too slow? Because too slow is you sit here and you think about it too much, and it also doesn't come out right. And so something, you can do lots of things. And I think like one of my favorite things to do, like early on when I was, getting into art, was to do like splatter painting, and not, get some cheap acrylic paint and some paper, like a big piece of paper, and then whatever, like a fork from the kitchen or like whatever thing you want, and just go crazy and just splatter it out and just let it flow. And just like free throws, you can tell the difference when you've got it right, because it comes out beautiful. And if you overthink it, it doesn't come out. It comes out tight. And to kind of just tap into that a little bit with just, and any way that you can is worthwhile. It's worth exploring. And so this design, I've done trees for a long time, and I've been reading more about chakras and mandalas and these different things. And it kind of talks about the branching structure and a mandala structure, which like concentric circles are very related, kind of like manifestations of the same thing. And there's kind of this like idea of like a root force that is like a point or a circle. And then off of that, you get your like branching. You get branching, or you get the concentric petals of a mandala. Mandala, still not sure how to like say it, but something I've been thinking about lately. And so I wanted to make a piece, or some pieces, with that in mind, with this kind of root force in the center and the branches. And so what I'm going to do now is get some white slip. Whoa. Whoa, dude. Still not totally sure that I've gotten any of this video in frame. Most of my videos I've done on the front, like front camera, and I think maybe the quality is better if I do it like not on the front, but now I can't see what I'm doing. So still very much in the works, but I'm just going to take a little bit and do something like that. Where are we here? There, good. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, that's all the pots. I have one more pot, actually. I'll do one more. So another thing that I like to do that's also very like flowy and fun is to put things on the wheel. I guess I gotta adjust my camera. One more thing that I like to do that's just pretty like flowy and fun, and also a really good way to get an intuition for the brush, because using a brush is not easy. And especially if you want to go quick, like you have to be pretty, you've got to get it just right. And it takes a lot of practice. But a good way to get some amount of practice with it is to just not even try and necessarily make a design, but just to get, we'll make a design, but just practice with the brush. And so I like to go on the wheel, and I'll do like these kind of, something like that. Nice little spiral. And yeah, it's fun. So that's the thing. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is, since we're here with all this slip and everything, is sgraffito. And sgraffito is a technique where you scrape away the slip. And it's not necessarily as flowy as brushwork, but kind of similar. The pacing is a little bit different because sgraffito is a lot slower.
And you can get some really cool projects where you take a lot of time and do it. I've never tried this reed pen. Something like that. Not quite what I was going for, but it's kind of part of the like flowy experience is just, you kind of just have to try and see what happens. I don't know that I love that, but like I said, non-judgment. So I'll just sit with that for a while, and maybe later if I want it to be different, I'll change it a little bit. Sgraffito, you can do all kinds of different like hardnesses of the clay. This is pretty soft. You can let it dry all the way out and do like very detailed oriented things. Still not sure if I'm getting anything in frame, so hopefully. But anyway, that's probably all that I have for this video. Try it out, find the flow, unblock the flow, find some joy, and thank you for watching.